the thing that I've been overwhelmed with is this sentiment of like how to feel about this when it's like closer to you, like how we are, where it's like closer to us than just like you're just observing and looking at it strategically from like a government versus government perspective. One of the things that I'm struggling with is like balancing the empathy and compassion for the people who are there experiencing the bombings and everything against the American interest that I feel that it's like, I probably also want to prevent the Islamic regime from having a nuke. I do. I mean,
but like, come on, let's dig into this. Like,
Yeah,
you guys have seen
I'm glad you
you
brought
guys
that.
have seen like since 1996, Netanyahu has been saying that they're months away from having a nuclear weapon.
Exactly.
Okay, but like I take some umbrage with that.
Obviously, it's getting closer.
Right, but
time is a benefit. But
okay,
like,
so like, yeah, okay, so
I got the receipts here if anyone wants to go through.
no, I get the receipts, but like, do you remember?
Hold on, let's hear some of the receipts.
Yeah. Well, do you remember in like 2012 or something? And maybe it was 2012. I don't know. It was a while ago. He had that like picture of the bomb that
In
was
front
like
of the
from
UN.
Wile E. Coyote.
He said by next
like the acme
spring.
bomb.
By next spring.
Yes, but in fairness, like following his picture of that hilariously drawn cartoon bomb, like they did like the Stuxnet virus thing, right? And basically like blew up a bunch of shit. So it's entirely possible they were close to having a bomb.
but we've done this before. We've done weapons of mass destruction.
No.
and we've done all of this before.
Okay.
We've been through this whole charade.
This is a good debate because what I'm going to throw out.
Stuxnet was 2009 and 2010. He spoke in front of the UN General Assembly in 2012.
Yeah.
So like they did that 3 years
They
prior.
killed a bunch of scientists after that. Probably.
Okay, they killed the scientists
Yeah.
in 2010 and 2012.
Okay.
So again, this was still.
So I'm
instead
gonna-
they were doing this.
I'm gonna throw something out there, and then you guys can throw tomatoes at me or debate it or whatever. In the world of like trading, right? It's very tempting to see like a pattern and pattern match. Be like, oh, this thing happened last time, so that means this, and this thing's gonna happen the next time. And what you really have to do is to try to like drill down into like the super first principles of why that happened. And if you can get to the first principles, you can sometimes make useful predictions. But if you just see a pattern and then you think the pattern is the same, then you're often going to fail. And I am currently getting the vibe that it's like kind of like a mid take to be like, oh, like no war. Like we said this, like they have always had a bomb, blah, blah, blah. So it's just like Iraq. That feels like pattern matching to me. And I think you could make like a pretty good case that this is like substantially different than the Iraq situation, like substantially so. And that if you're just sort of making your decision based on, oh, they lied to us last time, or oh, like war is bad, or oh, no, like I think you may like draw like a very bad conclusion, right? And maybe we should just start from the point of like, is it bad if like Iran has a nuke, right? Because if you don't think that's bad at all, then like this whole debate's kind of pointless because you don't think it's bad if they have a nuke, right?
It's bad.
It's very
It's not
bad,
necessarily guaranteed that they would use it, but it's bad. I think it's
It's not even bad that they would use the nuke. It's bad that it would just enable them to just sort of like power project with impunity.
It's bad
right?
because they don't go away.
I don't think they would use it.
And
they don't
the
go
regime
away.
never would go away.
Right.
They're not going to use it. The reason they want it is because they're surrounded by it. If you have it, you're like North Korea.
Yeah.
North Korea is like, we have a nuke. What the fuck are you going to do? Nothing. Because we know how that goes. End of destruction for everybody. So everybody wants a nuke because once one person has a nuke, everybody needs a nuke. We all know how that works. We don't need to go down to elementary level here of game theory. So everybody's going to want a nuke. Either no one has one or everyone's going to want one. So they want one for their own self-defense of their power. Like that's clear. They're not going to go and be like, oh, we got a nuke. Day one, day two, bomb Israel and take them out. That's just not what's going to happen because they understand how it actually works. It's mutual self-destruction. So that aside, I don't think they should have a nuke. I don't think they should have a nuke at all. How close are they to a nuke? Well, nobody knows.
No, I mean, our Tulsi Gabbard, She's
said
director
they're
of
not.
national intelligence 3 months ago and testified in front of Congress.
And that was her job.
They don't have a nuke.
And it's not Tulsi saying that as a human being. It's our intelligence agencies, all of our research over the last 20 years reaching a conclusion, and then her just saying, this is the conclusion that we've reached. And then that gets brought up to Trump, and he just goes, she doesn't know what she's talking about.
I don't care what she said.
I don't care what she said. So the real question here, back to your pattern recognition thing, is like, okay, that's true. But like the pattern is the same because there's an ulterior motive. There's an ulterior motive again. The motive is not stop Iran from having a nuke. There are compromised people, obviously, at play here. Trump is not delivering on his promises of anti-war. Trump made fun of Barack Obama for wanting to go to war with Iran and said it's guaranteed that it'll happen. Trump said that if Kamala wins, she'll go to war with Iran. And now we have half of the MAGA party split because everyone voted for all these things and none of those things are happening. And instead, we're going to war with Iran. So there's this interesting situation that I'm personally in, which is where I want to see regime change, obviously.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't want to see regime change that is brought about externally because we've seen the blowback of how that plays out. It almost always plays out terribly, where one regime gets changed for another.
I mean, Khomeini was the result of this exact thing however many years ago.
Correct. And so, what does that look like if we initiate any regime change? But let's not dance around this. This is 100% a regime change operation. There's nothing else happening. Why is it happening? Netanyahu wants it to happen. That's why it's happening. There's no other way. Like, I want to explore.
Why do you think it's regime change? It seems to me like regime change would be like a happy and probably inevitable consequence of this. But like, I feel like the main thing is like if I feel like if the Israelis were like, the Iranians have no nuke and there's no chance they'll ever have a nuke, and they had to like take that, they would probably be like, okay with that.
Well, I think they are going for regime change. I think it's a little naive to think that regime change would just unequivocally be good.
I think that's another discussion, and I would agree with that. And I want to actually talk to Armand about that because he probably has more insight into that.
If you're bombing Tehran, there's no nuclear sites in Tehran. Yes, there's maybe scientists and military leaders, but if you're going after military leaders, can you just easily make the argument that you are actually going for regime change, if not putting pressure and leverage on the regime in order to get them to come to the table at the very least? It seems like that's the playbook. Coming from the guy who was testifying in Congress in 2002, being like, we need regime change in Iraq. There is a crazy maniac. He's feverishly going after a nuclear weapon. And if you go in and win that war, I guarantee you there will be enormous positive reverberations in the region if we go and topple that regime. Like, again, I'm pattern matching, but like this is, and again, like we went off evidence. Have you guys ever seen this is so funny, or not funny, but I happened to watch the movie Green Zone last weekend just out of pure chance. Have you guys ever seen this movie or know what it is? Matt Damon is the main character. He's like a chief warrant officer in the Army, and his job is when they land in Iraq, his unit's job is to find the WMD. So he gets the intelligence, he goes to the place, none of those. Comes up short 3 times. Anyway, the story plays out that in the intelligence community, there's this super secret source. In the movie, they call it Magellan. In real life, that guy's name was Curveball, his code name. Turns out, in both the movie and in real life, that this intelligence source, which was handled by a third party, that in real life, the German intelligence, he just made it up. He's completely made it up, but it provided enough cause to go into Iraq and do it. And he later admitted, I made it up because I wanted to see the regime be overthrown.
Huh.
And this is, you can watch podcasts about the CIA agents talking about it. It's like very open. You could probably search Curveball or whatever and find all that guy's information. And now we find ourselves trusting a third-party intelligence person. We're trusting Israel with this when our own intelligence says we can't prove it. And we're just going to go in with them on this based upon their intelligence. I mean, it's wild. Like, I can't believe that there's more sirens going off. I mean, you mentioned it, that yes, this kind of smacks of Iraq in 2003, but like, I don't see that on the news as much. I don't see it in my like Twitter feed as much, that this was like almost a mirror image
Yeah, how
of
come-
this whole situation.
Whole exact mirror image.
Well, except that like Israel is us this time, and we're like the UK with like bombers that we need or something. You know, like it's not like there's not like a strong appetite for. Like, there was a very strong appetite for war back then, so that's a huge difference. Like
Yeah.
I would say right now that the appetite for war is actually too low. Like if I were to make a criticism, I don't like war, but like war is like sometimes necessary if you're like a realist, right? And a huge chunk of even the Republican Party, I would say like the majority of Trump's voter base at this point is just like vehemently anti-war.
Dude, I don't know if it's my corner of X and Twitter, but like this to me looks like the most unpopular war initiative ever. Like I've never seen such like it's already started with Tucker and Tulsi and that comedian and everybody, but it's
Dave
like
Smith.
yeah, it's like a huge swath of people the citizens of America do not want to go to war. They don't care. They're like, we don't have a problem. They understand that the Islamic Republic like regime is evil, but they're like, they haven't done anything to me, and I need my country taken care of right now because that's what I voted for.
I agree.
I want inflation down. I want grocery prices decreased. I want to buy a home. I want better health care. That's what people want right now. They do not want war.